All right, welcome everyone. We're really glad to have you here today with VOX and GCAPP to celebrate the quality of school opportunities and shine a light on the power and importance of youth voice in forming those quality experiences, as well as the importance of after-school programs and seeing their intersection with communication and mental health. If you're able to, please change your name tag to your name, your pronouns, and your after-school role. I'll pass it to Oishi now to introduce Vox.
My name is Oishi Actor. I'm a facilitator with Vox Atlanta, and I'm very excited to be introducing Vox Atlanta to you all tonight. So if you're not familiar with us, we are a nonprofit youth development organization in Atlanta, and we've been amplifying youth voices and uniting teens all across Metro Atlanta since 1993, and we strive for uncensored self-expression and promoting leadership among teens through publication. And we're excited today to be collaborating with GCAPP, and I'll be passing it to Lainey to introduce GCAPP.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight. My name is Lainey Broussard, and I am so honored to be representing the Youth Advisory Council for the Georgia Campaign for Adolescent Power and Potential, also known as GCAPP. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our work, the Georgia Campaign for Adolescent Power and Potential is a statewide adolescent health organization that works with hundreds of schools and other youth-serving organizations so that young people have the information, knowledge, and motivation they need to make healthy lifestyle choices that maximize their potential. Through collaboration and partnerships, GCAPP serves and impacts nearly 60,000 young people each year in 5 main focus areas: youth empowerment, comprehensive sex education, teen pregnancy prevention, parent engagement, and physical activity and nutrition. Our Youth Advisory Council is made up of young people ages 16 to 24, and I'm actually joined with one of my fellow members, Chloe, today. And my fellow Youth Advisory Council members and I serve as GCAPP ambassadors by inspiring and informing our fellow peers and providing input and firsthand experience on what teens are going through today. So thank you for having us. And now I'll pass the floor over to Anjali.
Thank you. So now that we've introduced the 2 hosting organizations, let's all introduce ourselves. We always prioritize community building and getting to know each other so that everyone knows that they're valued and belong, and tonight is not different. So we're offering a VOX ATL traditional introductions activity in the form of a 30-second scavenger hunt, which is something where you go and find an item that lights you up or gives you energy. Welcome back, everyone. Before we begin, if you're unable to turn your video or camera back on, feel free to drop your item and its significance in the chat. I'll go ahead and start us off for sharing. The item I chose that lights me up is this butterfly ring. I'm not sure if everyone can see it, but me and my grandma actually have matching rings, and whenever I see it, I feel really supported and just generally really happy. I'll pass it to Chloe and Michaela now.
Hi everyone. So at Vox, what we like to do is set our space with ground rules. And ground rules are basically rules and agreements that the whole group makes to make everybody feel comfortable and feel all right with speaking out and feel included. So some examples of some ground rules that we usually have are: don't yuck my yum. Basically what that is like, what's another saying? Like, don't mess with the vibe I have, don't mess with what makes me feel okay. What you say is appreciated. That's just a general rule of thumb that I'm sure is in any after-school organization or any organization in general with youth voices. And then have fun and share the air. And I'll pass it to Chloe to kind of say what ground rules means to GCAPP.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe Walker and I am on GCAPP's Youth Advisory Council. And I would say our ground rules are just being respectful, open-minded, and making sure everyone, just encouraging participation with everyone. And then most importantly, making sure everyone is having fun. And we just do this so that while we're together and we're sharing this time with one another, it's important that everyone feels comfortable and welcome. So those are our ground rules. And I would say, because school typically involves rules that help students, have a safe environment for learning, it's also extremely important for these rules to be kept in place to create a welcoming, comfortable environment for after-school activities as well.
And now, of course, we will be creating our own comfortable environment. So we will be going to a Jamboard. To create our own ground rules, if you haven't used Jamboard before, it's basically just, the link is in the chat. So if you click that, it's going to take you to a screen and you will be able to put your own ground rule or agreement that you want to make with everyone here to make sure that everyone is comfortable.
While folks are joining and adding their voices to this Jamboard, first of all, hi y'all, I'm Rachel. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work at Vox. I'm wondering if my co-facilitators would say a little something about the power of being able to set your own rules in a space and why that's valuable in after school or in any community that you're part of, as opposed to just being handed the rules that are made by someone else.
Yeah, so basically as Rachel was saying, it's very important that we take the time for any time we come together in a space to create the ground rules as a team. And that's kind of why we also call them like group agreements, because typically, you go to school and, the rules are kind of handed out to you and you never really get to discuss. There's no argument you can make, with them. But here it's more of we're coming to an agreement of what would make everyone feel comfortable. And once you have that in your space, it just gives an air of inclusivity and it makes everyone feel more comfortable being able to share their voice. And it even starts off people sharing their voice just by coming up with things that would make them feel comfortable. So not only does it kind of spark that interest in sharing your voice, it makes people more comfortable in continuing to do that throughout the time we are together. Nice meta moment. And I see now we have be open to new ideas, which is very important. We never want anyone to feel discouraged, which brings me to the next one. Be yourself. Please be yourself. This is a good place. You see, we're already making agreements to be ourselves. Be engaged. Please engage with us. It's a Zoom call. It's so boring if no one's responding and we're just staring at blank screens. Listen to hear and understand. Very important. Listen, then respond, and then have fun, of course. Does anyone have any other group agreements? Just continue sharing. We'll give it maybe 30 more seconds, and these will be our agreements going into the space. Okay, now that we've kind of set the stage with our group agreements, I'll pass it to Oishi to start us off on some data results.
Thank you, Michaela. So with our teen survey, Vox Atlanta does a teen survey each year, and we've been doing it since 2015 to fill an information gap in youth development. National and state data often focuses largely on parent, guardian opinions and provider reports, and youth well-being data largely focuses mostly on risky behavior from teens. And in 2015, Vox chose to focus on things that teens find to be their strengths and things that teens want to talk about and things teens want to share their perspectives on. So In this year's survey, we've divided it up into a few different sections: after school, mental health, and communications, with kind of an overarching theme, of course, being COVID-19. And we'll be transitioning all of this data into a Kahoot, where we can kind of have an interactive platform for everyone to interact with our data and kind of find out for yourself what's going on with teens in Atlanta. And on the screen right now, we have the Kahoot. If you've never experienced Kahoot before, it is a platform where you can join either on your mobile device or on a laptop. You can go to www.kahoot.it and join with the pin on the screen. And we'll get started as everyone comes in. The two correct responses were hanging out outside and hanging out in a space just for teens. 43% of respondents said that hanging out outdoors is something that they would like to do outside of school, and 42% of teens said that hanging out in a relaxing space just for teens is something they'd like to do. And I think in light of the pandemic, it's kind of understandable why a lot of teens are looking to go outside, looking to spend some time outside of their homes. And yeah, we can move on to the next question. Okay, this is kind of a shocking question, I guess. So what percent of respondents say that they often participate in an after-school program outside of their school? So even though most teens said they want to spend time outside, only 18% said they often do, though it is to be noted that 54% said they sometimes do. But this kind of reflects that teens don't often get to do what they wish to do. So it's a kind of a contrast from our last question. What most influences how teens spend their out-of-school time this year? I think maybe this question will be a bit easier than the last one. So yeah, kind of, I guess unsurprisingly, COVID-19 has been a really big part of our lives for the past year and a half. So 57% of teens said that COVID-19 quarantine has lots of influence on how they spend their school hours, and it's to be noted that teens were specifically asked to consider this past year. So even if answers had differed from previous years, respondents were asked to kind of highlight what the last year was like for them. And to uplift what Alex said in the chat, to all of our winners right now, GCAPP is going to provide an Amazon gift card along with Vox merch. So the ante is being upped. What makes an after-school program a quality experience? So the top response from teens this year was the community / a feeling of belonging, and that was 60% of respondents. A judgment-free zone was 50% of respondents. Opportunities to expand skills was 50%, and opportunities to meet new people was 48%. I think, again, in the light of COVID-19, a sense of belonging and a sense of community is really important in a time when we've been isolated for so long.
So before we move on to the next section, which is going to be about mental health, I know Lainey had some perspective that she wanted to share about the section on after school.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for a background on why I'm here, I got an email that this event would be happening, and I immediately, the inner child in me was so excited to be talking about the after school program, because a lot of my educational foundation was built there. And for me, the after school program is one of the main change agents in a child's educational experience while enrolled in school. And this catalyst for learning isn't found in the hallways, the cafeterias, the gyms, or even in the classroom. It's actually found when all the lights in the school go off, right? The after school program. For some, the after school program was a placeholder for them until they get home. For me, it was home. It was home to the birthplace of where I got to kind of foster my ideas. Some of the answers we saw in the last Kahoot were build a sense of community and belonging. It's really where I got to expand on what made me me, and also where I got to take ownership of that educational learning experience that was primed in the classroom. And growing up with a single mom with 2 jobs, it wasn't uncommon to find me playing kickball outside with some of my friends after school, or carpooling with someone after I finished up one of my programs that I was enrolled in after school. So it was definitely a foundational and a monumental attribution I can attribute to why I am the way I am and where I am today in my collegiate career. And looking back, I hold some of the most fondest memories of that community aspect that the teens in the survey also stated were their most fond memories as well. And it was in the after-school program where I got to audition for the lead of my school play and drama program. And I learned that I can actually be the lead and I can actually communicate with others and be engaging and stand on a stage and not just in front of a classroom, right? It was also where I got to be enrolled in the health and nutrition program. And so I got to learn not just in the cafeteria what makes a healthy meal, but also outside in my daily life at home, what I can do to kind of implement healthy lifestyles, whether it's being outside and being active or just making myself a balanced meal. And then also I played 7 years of AAU basketball. So I was the team captain of my middle school team, and I got to see how I can collaborate with other people. And some of those guys are some of my lifelong friends that I still carry with me to this day. And this is just only one story, but I did a little bit more research. And according to youth.gov, after-school programs and the activities children actually participate in after-school programs are critical to their overall development, highlighting the need for quality after-school programs in all communities. And the after-school program teaches me and it teaches all of us that learning doesn't just happen inside the classroom, it happens even when the lights in the classroom go off. So thank you for playing that little Kahoot game. I'm going to pass it on to Anjali to introduce our mental health section.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Anjali. I'm one of the teen editor interns this year at Vox, and one of the special projects I mainly focus on is mental health. For me personally, I was really drawn to mental health just because I have a psychiatrist as a mom and I am neurodivergent. So in my life, I'm really grateful to have mental health as a priority in my life and seen as something that's valued. And I really wanted to offer that experience to other teens around me. And I realized Vox was the perfect community for that. Vox is creating amazing mental health content, which I will drop in the chat right now. We have Free Your Feel Fridays and the mental health podcast going on, just a lot of content in general related to mental health. Before we get started with the Kahoot, I invite you all to visit the Vox website and check out all of our team's mental health content. But yeah, we can get started with the Kahoot.
Thank you, Anjali. So what do teens say causes them the most stress? And this year's top answer was mental health, at 42% of respondents saying their top cause of stress was mental health, school at 36% of respondents, and body and appearance at 33%. It's to be noted that last year, respondents said that 74% of respondents said that school was their biggest cause of stress, and preparing for life after school and body issues were tied at 51%. So we've seen a decrease in stress from school and a much higher increase in mental health stress. How do teens say they prefer to relieve stress? So the top response for this year was making something creative, and this is the second year in a row that this has happened. And having space is number 2, and talking it out with peers was number 3 at 33%. And this could show a very big need and response from students who would like to be enriched with creative after-school programs, and that could help relieve the stress that we see from the previous question. And something else to be noted is that in our survey response, only 20% of teens said that they would seek support from an adult as a way to relieve stress, and that could be another a need/want that outlets could provide support with. So where do teens say that they get their health and mental health information from? And the top response was looking it up themselves at 44% of respondents. And other top choices included friends at 34%, family 33%, and the bottom 2 responses were school counselor or other resource center. So the internet seems to be a very, very big resource for students who are looking to get information on mental health and health. And to kind of uplift Vox again, our mental health section does an amazing job of providing information and teen perspectives in this regard. What percentage of teens said they know teens who talk openly about mental health. So the correct answer was 59%. In 2020, our response was 67%, and this is a decrease from 2020. But I think again, the light of the situation of the pandemic should be noted, as this is still a very, very high percentage of teens who talk openly to other teens about mental health, and it kind of shows that there is a need and a want for dialogue regarding mental health among teens. What do teens say is the top barrier to getting mental health support? So the top response this year was that teens don't feel okay asking for help, and this was at 25% of teens. And the next barrier to support, which came in very close, was cost at 23%, and then that was followed by not connecting with mental health care providers and not knowing where to go at third. And a small number of teens, 6%, also said that they lost care during COVID-19. And this also kind of provides another fact that teens would like to talk about mental health, and that a dialogue is needed in regards to teen mental health support.
Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about just communications in general, and I'll also give a background a little bit. So for me, I was given the opportunity to be here, and I was so excited to just share my experiences, because personally, out of all my friends and peers, I'm always known as the person who's always doing things after school, constantly, whether it's sports or my debate club. I just recently got into student government, so I'm just always participating in after school activities. And personally for me, it's just because I get the chance to express myself outside of the classroom, and I get to strengthen my interests and my passions. And in my opinion, after school activities have always given me this boost in my mental health. We just talked about mental health. And for me, after school activities have tremendously helped my mental health, especially over COVID, because for a lot of people who weren't involved in an after school activity, you weren't seeing people in person. You were only on Zoom or on a phone call. So I was so lucky to be a part of a sports team over COVID, because I got the chance to still interact with people. And I think that really helped me. In my experiences personally with communication, I would say the most common method would be social media. And those can be platforms such as Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Disco, YouTube, just all sorts of social media platforms. And I would say just in general, it's really important to understand how teens communicate, because without understanding, you're not able to communicate effectively with teens. So it's really important to just focus on specifically how teens communicate rather than how you typically communicate. Just like how if you're talking to a child, you're not going to communicate through an email. They're not going to look at that email, even though that might be how you communicate. So it's important to acknowledge that, of course, teens have a specific way they like to communicate, of course. And I would say just connecting back to after school, for me, I learned how to communicate well through after school activities, because a lot of times I would communicate and it would not get my point across. So I had to learn how to communicate with my debate coach and my debate partner, because if I didn't communicate effectively, they wouldn't understand what I was trying to say. So it's really, communication is just extremely important. And as Alishi said with some of the responses in the survey, how it shows that teens don't always do what they'd like to do after school. Part of that is on communication, because if you're not communicating with your parent, or your parent's not communicating with you, hey, are you interested in this? Hey, do you want to do this after school? You might not feel comfortable saying, Mom, I want to do this, or Mom, I want to sign up for this. Can you sign me up for this? So just in general, I think communication just allows for, once again, creating a comfortable environment and allowing teens to really express themselves. And if the parent understands how the teen wants to communicate, it allows them to express themselves in a more open way. So thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Now we'll be going into the communications questions. So teens' top interests and concerns in 2021. Rank these in order from most concerned to least concerned. So the correct order would be life after high school, social justice, mental health and wellness, and arts and culture. So that was from the highest being 50% of teens were most concerned with life after high school, then 47% were concerned with social justice, which includes knowing your rights, interaction with law enforcement, and then 43% at mental health and wellness, and then arts and cultures was close behind at 42%. And this kind of shows what teens have been wanting to learn more about, what teens have been wanting to be involved with, what kind of content they would like to see in programs after school. And it's to be noted that in 2021, discrimination was the first thing teens were interested in 2020, and now it's fifth place at 41%. Most common way teens like to communicate with their peers. So texting was at number 1 at 36%, and it was last year as well. And that was kind of closely followed by messaging platforms like GroupMe, WhatsApp, or Discord at 16%. And I'd personally say I would not prefer to use the phone call. So, where do teens say they get the majority of their news? Most commonly used media platforms for teens with that question in mind was YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok in that order. So which social media platforms do teens use the most? Well, I kind of spoiled this question last round, but it's okay. So yeah, the most commonly used media platforms was YouTube at 40%, 46% saying that they use it often, 43% of respondents said they use Instagram often, and 36% of respondents said they use TikTok often. And the least commonly used apps were Tumblr, Slack, and Facebook. What do teens say helps them feel valued? Top 2 answers. And in this question, yeah, you can just select the 2 that you think are the most ways that teens feel valued. So the top 2 responses were, I feel like I can make a difference, and when my peers ask for my opinion. So this question was kind of a trick question because all of the responses came in very, very closely. So I feel like I can make a difference came in at 48% of teens feeling valued, 47% feeling valued when peers ask for ideas, and then when adults ask for opinions or ideas, that came in at 44%, and when they can own their own money or work at an internship, that was at 40%. So all very close. So no wrong answers really. And then from the teen survey and this Kahoot, it kind of gave us a lot of data and a lot of ways that we can improve after school programs by knowing what helps teens feel valued. So making a difference, asking for their ideas, and knowing what they want to do, what they want to say, and how they best communicate are all ways that we can help reach out to teens, support them, and make them feel valued in our community. Coming up at 3rd place, Alex, Miss D at 2nd place, and 1st place, Dina. Thank you all for participating. We will be providing a written report with this year's survey to all of our participants as a follow-up. And now I'll transition to Michaela as a kind of way for us to digest this information, this data, this Kahoot, and kind of think about what this means for us, what this means for youth voices, and how we can better support them using this data.
Hi everyone. So we're just gonna take this as a mindful moment, and at Vox, that's basically where we just take time to reflect and just kind of take a breather and get ourselves in a right mindset. So for this mindful moment, I just want everyone to kind of just close their eyes and think about the thing that you picked that was going to light you up during the scavenger hunt, or if you could not find something within close reach, then just think of something that just lights you up in general. And as you're thinking of that one thing, think about how that improves your mental health, and also think about why you feel the need to why you would feel the need to speak up for that one thing you are passionate about. So we're just going to close our eyes for 30 seconds. I'll give it 30 seconds. Now, everyone, we're just going to go around and share what is one thing you learned about mental health, after school organizations, and how they help with that mental health, and the communication that teens participate in that helps them stay engaged. Yeah, so we're just going to share out one thing. I'll start. My name is Michaela. My pronouns are she, her. And one thing I learned today is that, interestingly, I thought that more students would feel more empowered in their voices if adults supported that, but I learned that more are for if their peers find to listen to them, which I guess makes sense, since at this time I guess you are more like peer driven. But yes, and I will pass it to Lainey.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lainey. I use she, her pronouns. And one thing that surprised me from the Kahoot was the question saying, like, how do teens want to spend their time after school? Being outside, because most of my friends were like, oh, let's go on social media, let's hang out together, let's spend time with friends. But like going out into nature and kind of recentering yourself there is something I wasn't expecting. I probably should have been expecting it because we've been locked inside due to the pandemic. So people were aching to get out and craving that kind of like outside interaction for sure. But that's something that I wasn't guessing at first. And kind of going off this mindfulness Jamboard, something I plan to take with me and something I want to know more about is the mental health concerns that were at the top of teens' priorities nowadays, and our openness and willingness to actually share with each other what we're actually going through is something that I will definitely be engaging in more conversations that go beyond the surface level with my friends, kind of getting to know how they're actually doing with school and midterm season and finals coming up in the holidays. So that's something I'll definitely be attuned to nowadays. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Aishi.
Thank you, Lainey. Something I was surprised by was how when teens feel the most valued. I definitely feel like, for me personally, I feel the most value from when adults ask for my opinion. But I think it's also important, or I also think I shouldn't have been surprised that teens in Atlanta feel like they feel the most value when they can make a difference. That's something I've noticed in my community. There's a lot of students and teens around me who strive their hardest and work their hardest, to make a difference, whether that be through volunteering, putting out content on Vox, or on other, like on their social media, and just trying to impact the world around us. So I shouldn't have been surprised, but I think I was surprised. And next to me, I'll pass it to Anjali.
Hey everyone, so something I wanted to know more about was just generally how I can support teens who are struggling with declining mental health and just want to get more involved in after-school activities too. Something I plan to take with me are the statistics. Something I was really surprised about in the Kahoot was that teens don't turn to school counselors when they need mental health guidance, and personally I would go to my school counselor, so I was really surprised to hear that statistic. So I plan to take that with me and ask some of my friends about it. Something I would like to do now or next is really just research more about teen mental health, because I know it was declared a crisis recently. I'm definitely going to visit the Vox mental health page to read more about that. But I'll pass it to Alex.
Thank you. Yes, I put in the chat box, I was surprised just how much teens are concerned about mental health. That's definitely changed from since I was a teenager, and because that wasn't really talked about then. So that was surprising to me.
And on that note, I think we're going to close out this evening. And so just reflecting on what everyone said, this evening was full of different informational facts about teens that I'm a teenager myself and I didn't know them myself. So it was great to kind of give a refresher on what's on the minds of youth today. And I just want to thank everyone for coming. And at this time, I'm going to invite all of our community partners and organization representatives to drop their links in the chat so you guys can all connect and get to know what people are doing around the state of Georgia. And at this time, I'm going to also drop in a link in the chat to an evaluation, a short survey that you can take on how this program went, what you took away from it, and how you'll be moving forward with the information that you have now. And a few quick announcements before we close out officially, and I'll let you guys go. We have an event on November 13th with the GCAPP, Youth Advisory Council members. We're hosting our official and annual Youth Empowerment Summit. And this is an annual summit put on by us to kind of get teens kind of interactive and exactly what we're doing right now with making priorities known about what we're thinking about, and we have different speakers coming in. It's going to be a really great event. So if you want more information about that, feel free to DM Alex Corey. She's on this call right now for more information. Also sign up for the Vox print edition. And as a longtime fan of the work of Vox, I would highly recommend that you do that. They do some amazing work. And from the people that you saw here today, you can already see that the youth there are just phenomenal. And then also follow Vox and GCAPP on all our social media platforms. We have Instagram, Facebook, find us there. And reminder to take that survey. I dropped in the chat. And yeah, other than that, have a wonderful night, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, y'all.